Welcome to Iblis Manifestations. Okay then, Ryan, good evening, sir, and you are most welcome to Iblis Manifestations, man. I'm very, very pleased to have you on the show. How are you doing tonight?
Great, doing fine.
Excellent, man. It was killer to share the stage in Winds of Agony in Barcelona, man. What a killer fucking festival that was. How did you find it?
Perfect. That was a great festival, like you said, and everything I liked about it, especially hotel proximity to the venue. Sometimes we're like 20 kilometers away from the venue, and we have to drive, get a van, and waste all this time trying to get to the venue. This time we could just walk back and forth anytime we felt like it.
Absolutely, man. And you know what? That's actually a really good point, because so much of the day just gets completely wasted at the waiting around and the traveling in between.
There's nothing worse than that. 12 hours just sitting after the sound check, waiting to go on stage. It's one of the worst times you could possibly imagine, especially someone like me. I always need something to do.
Sure. I actually really relate to that. And obviously for yourself, it wasn't obviously the only time you've done this, but you were doing double duty. You were playing with both Blasphemy and Death Worship, which I have to give you kudos. Both sets were fucking spectacular, man. Absolutely
Awesome.
solid.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed it. How do you find that dynamic of having both of the shows to do in, I think you did them both. Was it on the same day or I can't remember?
Yeah, same day, couple hours apart.
Mm-hmm. Damn. How did you find that?
It's not my favorite thing to do, but has to be done a lot of the times. Sometimes I do back to back, like Death Worship and then wait 20 minutes and then Blasphemy. So it's a bit of a challenge because the Death Worship is a lot of, I'm singing or vocals and then doing the guitars, and it takes a lot of energy. And then 20-minute break and doing it again with Blasphemy. I also do vocals with Blasphemy, and yeah, it's a lot, and plus I'm getting up there in the age, but somehow I pull it off, I guess. Adrenaline. For
sure, but you do great, man. You more than pull it off. I think that because it's a funny one, because there is a similarity in style, but then they're not quite the same either. I think especially in the pacing of a lot of the songs, it's kind of a different mood and a feel. So I imagine that in itself is kind of something to get into as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's a totally different dynamic, both bands for me. I have to get in the mindset for each band, a separate mindset. So Absolutely. That is true, yes.
For sure, man.
Yeah, Winds of Agony, that was great. Everything was professional as far as the stage and all the organization. The venue was awesome, but I don't know if you could get that one again, I heard. For the next year's edition, you might have to move to a different venue.
Okay, I see. I think they only just moved into that one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And then they don't agree with the management or whatever, and they have to move again, it looks like.
All right. Well, the event fucking sold out, so that's another venue's gain.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, there you go, man. I have to, the organizers, Edu, I have to give him a shout out. Great guy. They also treated us really well as well. And the whole thing was just organized so spectacularly well. And what a great lineup as well, if you've got all day to wait around backstage, if the lineup is shit, it's just kind of like, oh, whatever, But if you got friends around, it's kind of, and the good bands that you actually want to watch, it makes a difference.
True. And this lineup was really good. Like, Be Arid, of course, is a special event.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, and both days had solid bands. So, yeah, nothing to complain about there. You really curated a good lineup.
Absolutely, man. I wanna actually tell a real quick story about what happened on the last night of the festival there. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And no, it's something very nice that you did actually that I just want to put on the record. You already know what I'm gonna say, but first of all, shout out to our mutual friend Brendan for making the connection between us. That's Brendan from Disillusionment.
Yes.
Great
Brendan.
guy, super intelligent, cool as fuck, and it was funny because I bought a shirt for my fiance that I was gonna take back to her. It was a festival shirt, and whilst you and I were stood there talking and complaining about Metallica's "And Justice for All," some motherfucker stole my shirt. So obviously, I hope whoever it was, they enjoy it. But then you were kind enough to then offer a Death Worship shirt, and then we kind of ended up doing an exchange there, So I just wanted to kind of mention that. I thought that was a real nice sign of character, man. Appreciate it.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah. And I've been wearing the hell out of it too, by the way.
Good.
It's
That's
the
good.
sleeves. Yeah, the sleeves came off straight away, and it's already been to the gym a handful of times. So yeah,
perfect. That's where it belongs, the gym. But I got some complaints about the print, so hopefully your print is staying on. We had them printed in Spain, and I guess there's a quality issue. A couple of people complained already that the print is coming off or changing color or something.
I've had no problems at all, and I have really worn it to death, like no joke. Yeah. And also, if the color comes off like then it looks fucking cooler, It's vintage.
That's what I say too. Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. Yeah. Speaking about Injustice for All, I already drew the line. I can't listen to that album.
Yeah, you said you bought it when it first came out, and
yes,
you were
I
very
stood in line.
disappointed.
I had to skip school and stand in line because the record shop opened at 10 in the morning, and waited. Finally, as one of the first 20 people in the shop, grabbed it, double LP version, ran to the cashier, ran home, put it on, and didn't do anything for me.
Wow.
Very disappointing.
Was it the title track that kind of let you down?
Yeah, that's definitely one of them. It just didn't capture me like Master of Puppets and Ride the Lightning. So
interesting.
And then as time went on, like Metallica always said, we'll never make a rock video, fuck MTV, blah, blah, blah. And then 2 weeks later, here was this other goddamn boring video. Yeah, it just did nothing for me, the whole situation. That just showed me, like, you can't always rely on your favorite band, That was a big lesson for me back then.
That's so interesting, especially considering that in itself is already almost like 30 years ago. That's in fact, closer to 40 years now. Fuck, but yeah, no, it's interesting that you say that. Funny, I remember seeing an interview with Hetfield years ago saying that after they released the video, they were at some public event. I don't know if it was like the Grammys or something. The first year they played, we didn't win it, and then some guy came up to him and like spat at him. And he was like, what was that for? He said, well, you said you would never release a video. So he's gone spitting on him.
Exactly. It was well-deserved. I'm glad someone got him. I would have spit on him too. Yeah. It was a betrayal. Enough. It was totally betrayal. We thought that Metallica was our guys, sticking it to the music business, playing this music that was only for us. And then, they just went the same avenue as every band that smells the money.
Of course. Well, I think there's a very time-relevant thing there that's probably important to put out there in people's heads. I mean, you're talking about 1988. This is a different time. very much a different time, and, you're talking about a time where even Metallica, which is like, probably the biggest band in the world, maybe, or one of, to this day, even they were at that point still kind of the underground. Even when they did the Aussie tour, they were still the underdog by that point.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, Justice was a betrayal. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell you what, man, let's talk a little bit about you. So very excited to have you on here, man. Big fan of your work for many years, even before we met. And you've done a lot of very great stuff over the years. And obviously, there's a few different projects that we can talk about. But I kind of want to satisfy my own inner kind of war metal fan nerd, if you will, as I'm sure, is going to be the same as pretty much most people listening to this. So if you don't mind, I kind of want to revisit Conqueror a bit, if that's okay.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so War Cult Supremacy, man. What a fucking album. And, just everything about it. Just from the sheer ferociousness to the unhinged nature of the album, and also pointing out the fact that at the time when it came out, there was really nothing like it. And also, I've never heard an album, like straight up from the get-go, utilizing the pick slide as an actual riff,
Yes.
Like, that was such a cool idea. But one of my friends, in fact, this was Ryan when we were doing when we did the run between us, Trivax and Diocletian. He was actually telling me, I don't know if I remember this correctly, but that album was actually recorded quite a while before it actually came out. Is that correct?
That is correct. We recorded it in December 1996. And
Right.
we had a promise by Evil Omen Records, which was a division of Osmos Productions, that he'd have it out by February 1997. But February came and went, and he had excuses. So he said September 97, which was still fine. And then September came and went, and nothing. So I guess he ran out of money or bad management somewhere, and the album just sat there for a couple of years until Full Moon Productions came and bought it, the license. And we couldn't afford to buy the license back then, so we had to just let it sit. So yeah, it was about 3 or 4 years before it was released officially.
Do you ever kind of reflect on that and think of what could have been?
Yeah, all the time when I think about Conqueror. Definitely, if it would have gave us momentum if it was actually released when it was supposed to be, 1997. But instead, like, it was always something we talked about. We're always like, when's this album coming out? What should we do now? We're kind of in a limbo, waiting to do what we could do next. And then finally we decided to write some new songs. So we had about half a second album written. And I don't know, it's just nothing was happening. And I guess we kind of lost interest. We felt like we could be doing something, and we're just sitting there waiting and waiting. So I guess, we moved on.
Yeah, I see, man. But the fact of the matter is, even when it did come out, it still made a huge impact.
Yeah.
Still does make an impact for that matter.
Great to hear. But yeah, I can't really think about it objectively.
Yeah.
It's difficult for me. All I could say is we were going for that. We were going for the ultimate punishing, savage, unrelenting, hateful album possible. That was the goal when we were writing it. So I guess mission accomplished.
Fuck yeah, man. Absolutely. 100%. I'd like to quickly interrupt this episode for the following message. My band Trivax will be releasing our third full-length album, The Great Satan, via the legendary Osmos Productions on the 30th of May, 2025. If you're into extreme metal that's unapologetically defiant, politically and religiously charged, and unafraid to make bold statements where other ways shy away, then you need to hear this album. I would say that Musically, The Great Satan blends dark ritualistic Middle Eastern elements with traditional folk and very dynamic usage of the extreme metal subgenres, creating a unique and immersive soundscape. The intro track actually utilizes folk instruments, including baklama and oud, and throughout the album, you will also get the usage of 3 different languages. One, which is, of course, my native language of Farsi, or otherwise known as Persian. We also have songs that are sung in Arabic and, of course, English. The album embodies rebellion, violence, and ecstasy, unafraid to say what so many extreme metal bands will not. Copies will be available directly from the Trivax Bandcamp page, or otherwise from the official Osmose web store. Thank you for your support, and please enjoy the rest of the episode. One interesting parallel that I kind of see to that now, knowing this piece of information, because when I had Necrobutcher on the podcast, I think it was like about a year or so ago, because The Mysteries was the same thing. That album didn't come out for quite a while after. And what he was saying on the show, he was saying that he reckons, now whether this is true or not, obviously that's his perspective, I'm just saying that this is what he thinks, is that had the album come out sooner, there might have even been a possibility Dead wouldn't have killed himself, because they would have actually gone on tour and started engaging more with their following, which is interesting that he said that on here. And I kind of maybe see a parallel there.
Yeah, definitely. Like, we did lose, it was the next expected move is the album's going to be out, and then we move on from that stepping stone. But the step was taken away from us, so there's nothing we could do. We were, like I said, it was just a limbo. And yeah, I guess we didn't admit it to each other, but I guess it was a crushing blow to our plans.
Of course,
the delay.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I could go back, I'd probably stick it out somehow, but.
It's interesting to hear that, because I think part of what maybe made it special as well is the fact that, it's this kind of like cult standout, where people are like, oh, what's this album? Where are these guys? Who are they? Like, what came after it kind of thing? Or at least for many years, this was the case. Maybe I think when you put Death Worship together, I don't know if that was sort of like a not a continuation as such, but at least then people were able to hear more of your stuff that's actually on record, if you will, so maybe that's probably aligned with what Conqueror could have sounded if it continued.
Yes. I have a few things to say about that. Like,
sure,
I could have also started a band a month after Conqueror stopped rehearsing, but it would never have been on the level that I wanted it to be. Like, a drummer like James Reed is like 1 in a million. So
sure,
I couldn't step down. So there's no one I could find to start a new band with until whatever that was, 13 years later, where Jay Reed said, hey, I have time. I could help you with some more music if you have some ideas. And I was like, I've had ideas building up for years now. Let's go.
Amazing stuff, man. Yeah.
I'd rather not put anything out than go down in quality or ability, I don't want a weak drummer or anything like that. I wanted it to be as powerful and more. I don't know. I had a different version for Death Worship than Conqueror, because I did want to have it a little bit more song style songs instead of total savagery that you can't hardly wrap your mind around. Like, I kind of put like a Slayer influence into the Death Worship.
Slayer influence. Interesting that you say that. I think I kind of, the direction it ended up going is absolutely perfect, and it translates exceptionally well live. I would say the Death Worship is probably one of my, I hate to call it a new band, but, because you guys have been around for decades, but the entity of the band itself is still kind of new. And I think of a lot of stuff that I have seen maybe in like the last 10 years, I would say it's one of maybe top 3 or 4 most exciting bands within extreme metal that I have seen live,
Great. That's really cool to hear. That is kind of the mission. We do want to bring something to the stage what's other bands are doing, and we kind of want to make it like a almost inhuman, like people looking at us and saying, "What the hell? How could they play that fast for that long and that sharp?" Because I think that's what people were thinking of Slayer back in like when Rain and Blood came out, and they're playing these live shows. People are just blown away about the speed and the precision and unrelenting.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wanted to recreate that, but in my style.
You mentioned Slayer. I've just seen him twice this week.
And what did you think?
You know what? Well, first show I saw them in Cardiff on Thursday, and that was their headline set. They played a pretty long set for Slayer as well. I think it was like hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes or so, which for their songs and their style, that's a pretty long set. Overall, it was okay, but you know, it wasn't perfect. They definitely had a lot of, in pro wrestling terms, we call it ring rust, if you will, you know?
Rust, okay.
Yeah, and Tom in particular, you know, I just could tell like his heart wasn't 100% in it, you know, and some vocal lines and some lyrics and whatever, you know, he just actually kind of skimmed over, like he didn't even do the parts, you know, in the middle of the song, which was really weird. But then I saw them again at the Sabbath final show, because I went to that on Saturday.
Cool.
Yeah, it was fucking amazing, man. I went to that on Saturday, and they had a lot more fire to them, and I was like, okay, there we go. There's a little bit more of that oomph and that fucking testosterone, you know, that I was hoping to get, you know. And Tom was in much better form somehow. I think I just put it down to ring rust, you know, because it's Slayer. They can never fuck up too hard, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just kind of angry, not really angry, but disappointed, let's say, that they did return after their final tour, and now here they are again playing shows, not touring. So I guess they didn't lie, but still, I thought 2019 was it. Never to see them again. Great run, but now, yeah, they're back and doing quite a number of shows, it seems like.
Yeah, I
don't
don't
know
think
how to
it's.
feel about it.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of there with you, you know. I think for me, I'm kind of one of those people that kind of like watches something and enjoys it and just tries to maybe ignore some of the factors there, you know. I mean, it was the same for the Sabbath show as well, you know, but it's like I try and just sort of find a sort of like a level of just being grateful that I get to experience that, you know.
Yeah,
but
that's a good way to approach it.
Yeah, I think so, you know, and at the end of the day, you know, it's just kind of like, you know, you get to see Slayer one more time, sure, why the fuck not, you know?
Yeah, it's my favorite songs being played live, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I could see it from that perspective too.
Yeah, well, it was funny because when they did the last show in 2019 and then Kerry put his chain on stage and then they left, that was kind of a goosebump moment, you know, like I think only the real metalheads appreciate the weight of that moment. But then literally months later, the whole world went to shit, you know, and then we were like in lockdowns and scamdemic and all of that, you know. So it was kind of like, it's, you know, if Slayer goes, then everything else falls apart too.
Exactly. Yeah. So I also like that as part of the whole legacy. They die, and then so does the whole world, you know.
Yeah,
they brought everything down with them. Yeah. So we kind of have something like that too. Like Death Worship at a show in Tel Aviv, and then hours later we're getting rained on by missiles.
Oh,
October
yes,
7th.
You guys played that festival. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because bro, I'm going to tell you something funny about that, and I would like to hear a little bit more about your experience there, but we were supposed to play the same festival.
No way.
Okay, yeah. The only reason why we didn't go ahead with the booking, you know, I mean, the offer was great. Promoter was like super professional. You know, he had his shit together. But, you know, and obviously the lineup was great as well. You guys, Darvaza, Aklis as well.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the only reason why we didn't go ahead with it is because I still had an Iranian passport at that point.
I
thought, and then after seeing what happened, it was like, yeah, okay, maybe it was for the best.
Yes. But also... me, I have a German passport as well as a Canadian passport. And I used my German passport to go to Israel, and still there was like this agent at the check-in desk at the Berlin airport, and they asked us about 45 to an hour worth of questions. Why we're going there? Who are we? Let's see your passport. And he asked us these questions, and he'd turn around and walk away, and I guess he'd go to the computer and do his thing and then come back and ask more questions. It was quite the interview just to get into the country. Finally, they let us onto the airplane, but it was quite the process. So yeah, I could see with an Iranian passport, you might have had a little bit of a issue.
Yeah, I could have gone in there for a fucking anal probe or some shit, you know, at that fucking rate. But yeah, no, obviously I'm joking, you know, but yeah, I was kind of always used to just being interrogated every fucking place that I went to, you know, like literally every country, you know, I would get treated as if I was a terrorist, you know, and I kind of got used to that. So I just kind of knew how just to stay relaxed and just give them answers and not be like short and snappy with them, you know, because your fate's basically in their hands completely.
Exactly. You know? Yes. Yeah. We have kind of a similar story as Blasphemy when I lived in Vancouver, Canada with the rest of the guys. And every time we'd fly back home after a show and we always get interrogated, brought to the back room, separated, asked all these questions, our luggage checked every time. And so it got to the point where we just walk up to them and say, okay, we're ready to go to the back room and wait and waste our time. And every single time they do it, finally, I guess the guys could go home and they finally recognize them passing through every couple of months. So they let them through without hassle. But we were getting harassed at the Vancouver airport.
That's crazy, man. And I guess with all of the shows, is fly-in shows mainly that Blasphemy does.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's always such a hassle. And they'd ask us the dumbest things like, just show us where the drugs are. And we're like, man, we're in Vancouver. If we want drugs, we could make a phone call and have the drugs delivered to the airport to meet us at the exit. Like, what are you talking about, drugs? Why we bring back anything like that? Or that was always just something, I don't know. For some reason, we were the targets every time. We watch all these people walk through, no problem. And then we try to walk through, nope, stop. Get escorted by the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Police. They'd escort us to the back and then interrogate us and ask for IDs. So I guess they were recording us, following what we were doing, checking the internet. In fact, I call myself the Death Lord in Blasphemy. Yeah. And one time one of the women came up to me and goes, "You must be the Death Lord," in the back of the airport. In interrogation, I'm like, I guess that's me, yeah. So they knew who we were, and I don't know why they kept bothering us, though. I'll never find out why, I guess. But yeah, like I said, finally the guys get through, no problem, when they go back home to Vancouver.
That's crazy, man. How interesting. The fact that they knew you and kept pulling you, you know, usually it's kind of the other way around, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially going into another country, okay, I understand, but coming home never made sense.
Yeah,
we must have been on a list or something. We must have had some sort of list or that they make sure to interrogate these guys when their passport goes through the machine.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine at the time it's kind of a hassle maybe, but perhaps it makes for a cool story to tell at least, you know, especially when you're saying that at one point you were just like going up to them, you know?
Yeah, we just lost our patience. We're like, might as well just go straight up to them and get it over with.
Yeah, it is a bit shit though, you know, like just kind of being like discriminated against just because of like your look and stuff, you know. I think one thing with Blasphemy as well is, you know, that, and this is the reputation of the band, you know, like you talk about extreme metal for extreme people, I think, or extreme music for extreme people rather. I think Blasphemy are extreme people, you know, or at least what you would hope the band to be, you know. And I think the band does live up to its reputation, you know, perhaps on and off stage, you could say, you know. So I guess maybe shit like that is just the kind of headache that maybe comes with the territory.
Yeah,
you know?
True. I guess having previous criminal records is the main focus of the police that were bringing us to the back of the airport. So I guess we do have these records. So I guess we are check worthy. But honestly, if I was a smuggler or anyone, I dress so normal, look so normal that you wouldn't even just look twice at me. I wouldn't walk in with tattoos, bald head, metal shirt, and leather jacket. I wouldn't be walking like that trying to smuggle anything.
Well, you know, it's really funny that you say that, because that is absolutely true. Why do I say this? Because that's what I did. So not I wasn't smuggling, but I actually did get to visit Iran a couple of times after I moved out of there. And every time I went back, I purposely would, you know, because I had long hair at the time, and I would actually hide my hair in like a black beanie, and I would wear like a white checkered shirt, and then I would like tie it all the way up to the collar, so I'd look like an actual Muslim, you know, and I'd grow out my beard and not like trim or anything like that, you know, so when only just so that when I would go through the airport, they wouldn't like pull me or anything.
And you know? It worked.
Yeah, for the most part it did. Yeah, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do.
That's it. Yeah, and I'll say sometimes I would even, you know, I wouldn't make it too obvious, but sometimes I would say like an Islamic blessing thing, you know, like in slang terms, in passing, you know, and then just, you know, like God bless you or whatever, you know, as I was going past, just so they'd fucking leave me alone, you know.
Awesome. Yes, that works fucking good.
Yeah, and in the same time I had. Yeah,
I can't imagine though. Black Wind's trying to look normal, so
probably not.
I think he stands out. Any kind of disguise he tries, I think he's going to stand out.
I think so. What a great guy, by the way. I thought it was so fucking cool that he just went and got a full torso tattoo in the middle of a festival.
Yeah, yeah. That was. They were talking about it for a couple of months before the festival, and yeah,
right.
He was invited to this nearby tattoo shop that was in the same town, that Granollers, or however you say it. Yeah.
Granollers, I think. Yeah, just outside Barcelona.
Granollers, yeah. And then, so he was invited, and sure enough, he took the invitation, and I think he got it before the show, huh?
I think he did.
Before the show, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Show. So, yeah, that's pretty diehard. But yeah, I guess he covered up the rest of his belly that hasn't been touched yet, because he's tattooed almost in every open spot on his body. So I guess they found someplace, and it was the torso. So pretty brutal tattoo to get before a show.
It fucking is, man. What's your, you know, well, since Blasphemy came up, maybe we can talk a bit more about Blasphemy, you know, because it's just like totally fucking iconic band. You know, and I think it's crazy. In fact, I was saying this to him when we were hanging out. I think it's insane that literally a band that only released, well, 2 full-length albums, you know, and the last album being in 1993 is still as prominent as you guys are now, you know, and obviously, you know, doing like headline sets at festivals and getting the crazy level of traction that you get. What do you think it is that kind of that makes for that, as someone who's in it, if you're able to sort of observe?
Good question. Well, I started also as a listener. Yeah. Like at least 6-7 years before I joined the band, I was into the band. And
you joined them in 99, is that correct?
Yeah, 99. So yeah, 9 years after I started to listen to Blasphemy, I joined the band. And yeah, when I first, you know, I was going through a pile of albums back then, 1990, and bought this Blasphemy cassette at the local store, and finally got to it, brought it home. The first time I heard it, it was already perfect. The first spin of that album, I was already hooked. So it must be something about how powerful the songs are that still 35 years later, we could still headline shows and not release anything new and still be able to carry a whole festival on our backs, you know?
Yeah, man. Absolutely. I think, from my perspective, one of the things that makes it, obviously there's like a cultural thing, and then there's obviously the Rosberg cult aesthetic and the history that's obviously a big part of metal. It's kind of like, I think that is something in itself. But I think at the core of it, there's an element of realness with you guys that I
True.
think
It is authentic. Yes.
yeah, yeah, because it's like I meet people from bands all the time. I meet different people, in the music industry of all different levels, and, some quite big people, some people who are just like in the underground, but everyone's trying. But I feel like, like there's a realness, like if you and I, we can meet and then I'll have a conversation with you that's about real shit. You're not worrying about what you might say because so-and-so person in the industry might not like it or whatever, You're just real. You just give your opinions as it is. And I personally, I fucking love that. But I also think from a fan base perspective, that's something that people, I think, kind of grasp onto. They connect with that realness and the authenticity, as you put it.
Yeah, I could see that. Because, there's nothing fake about it or nothing we're trying to pose or trying to accomplish. We've accomplished what we wanted to do. So I guess we have nothing left to prove. So just being ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's I don't know if you realize that, man. That's a rare trait today, especially
Yeah,
right
I don't
now.
realize. I guess I've met some of these bigger bands here and there, but I don't. When I see them, I don't even have interest to talk to them or anything. So I guess I don't really get to know these people. Like, for instance, we did a show with the Kerry King band in Poland, and I saw him backstage, but I didn't have any interest to go introduce myself or anything. Like, I just let him be. Like, he has enough friends. I'm sure he has enough people that are bugging him all day. So one less might be good for him. Even though, like, I grew up with that guy and one of my inspirations for sure, but I didn't want to disturb him.
Yeah, that's totally fair enough, man, and respectful as well. Because the thing is, as well, yes, you are a Slayer fan, but you're also not just a fan. You're someone you're your own figure, especially within underground metal, and and there's nothing wrong with like necessarily being a fan of anything or anyone else, but it's like, how is that connection gonna be made, Like, you need some kind of leverage. You need someone to introduce you, maybe, rather than you just go up to someone and then,
I guess so. But he was standing alone a lot of the time. He was just backstage. There was this huge backstage, and all the bands were just piled into it. And he was just chilling out alone. So there's plenty of opportunity. But it's just, well, I guess I did meet him, but this is like 2000 or 2001. I did meet him. We were at the local bar. Me and I think Color the Storms. We were just at the local bar, and they're recording Slayer. We're recording God Hates Us All album in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting there one night, and all of a sudden, Kerry King and Jeff Hanneman walked in and started to order drinks and hang out with everyone. And so I talked to him a little bit about BC Rich guitars and the new album that they're recording, and he's like, "This album's for guys like you that are into brutal underground music. You're gonna love it. God Hates Us All." And I remember when I finally did buy it, I was like, "Whoa, maybe this isn't the way he intended it to finally be released in that production style and whatnot." But I've grown to like the album nowadays. But when I first heard it, I didn't like it.
Interesting.
And after getting hyped up by Kerry King about it, but I guess he has to say that.
Well, yeah, of course. It's a kind of a bit of a sales pitch, isn't it? That's
so I guess it did work on me. I did put out money for that album. So
yeah. What is crazy about that album, though, is the fact that it came out on 9/11.
Yeah.
Remember that?
I remember. That is outrageous. What? That's also relates to when Slayer ended in 2019, and then the world pandemic thing happened. You could also relate that to how 9/11, there's Slayer again in the middle of it. So they're in the middle of the pandemic, middle of the 9/11 thing.
Yeah,
pretty
especially
funny how they always happen to have that kind of luck.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think Slayer is the thing that was keeping the fabric of reality together. Really, when you
Does seem
start
like it. It does seem like it.
absolutely, and also, there are pretty large parallels between 9/11 and the pandemic. You know, we can get into that if you want, but like a self-inflicted thing that then results in higher surveillance, higher money being
Yeah,
moved,
yeah.
and all of
I
that stuff.
that's all. That's what it's done for. That's the only reason these things happen,
Hmm.
is to bring us to another level of control.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you think about it, okay, let's say I mean, 9/11's a horrendously tragic thing that happened. I remember because obviously
Yeah, I remember.
I was in Iran, and I remember my mother being worried sick and actually trying to contact some of our family members in the States, in New York, because we
Wow.
actually had some relatives there, And obviously we were always very much like a pro-Western family, if you will. A lot
Hmm.
of families are, but ours in particular, we were always very like sort of Western oriented, and she was really devastated that that had happened, and luckily that family member of ours but was still around, but still is actually, but yeah, but then you think of like, okay, you know evil master plan. If we sacrifice, let's say, a couple of thousand people here, maybe 20,000 if you count the asbestos related deaths, and then in exchange, you get to have like high intense surveillance all around the world. Never mind obviously the all of the insurance fucking
Yes.
tricks that were
Yeah.
pulled right
Yes.
prior to it.
No, I have also an opinion about that. And asbestos, finally, you should bring that up. I think that's how the plan first started. I think that these buildings were built, and then they found the asbestos, and they're like, wow, it's going to cost $1 billion to refurbish this whole building and get rid of all this asbestos. And then they thought, oh, you know what we could do? Just fly some planes into it and it'll collapse.
Yeah. But it also turns out that flying planes into buildings don't really make them collapse either. You're kind of going to have to,
Yes.
self-detonate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah.
saw also other parts to that story where it was pre-wired, let's say.
Hmm.
The whole building was pre-wired.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
Phoenix.
bro, I don't want to beat around the bush, but it's like fucking, like what happened with Tower 7, that thing just
Yeah,
fucking went down on its
yeah.
own,
Like that meme, never forget and then forget.
Yeah,
Did
yeah,
you see that meme?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, man,
Yes.
and then you got footage like in Russia of planes actually flying into buildings, and then the buildings like still there, and I'm
Yeah,
sure in America they
exactly.
had better engineering than fucking Russia, at least.
Yes.
Hey, just a quick moment of your time. For the past 3 years, Iblis Manifestations has been entirely self-funded. This means that every subscription fee, every piece of equipment, all of the travel expenses have come out of my own pocket. Over time, people have asked me how they can support the podcast, and to be honest with you, up until now, the answer's been pretty straightforward, and that is simply spread the word. But now, there's another way. I have set up a Patreon account where followers of the podcast will be able to make monthly donations to the podcast, and this will help cover the costs of streaming gear and basically everything else that goes into making this show. This isn't about making a profit, and to be completely honest, it's not about breaking even either, because that's certainly not been the case for the last 3 years. However, if you do find value in the conversations that we're having on this podcast and wish to help them forward, then you can now support the show. Just head to the link in description and hit the Patreon button. In addition to that, be sure to check out the Iblis Manifestations Big Cartel page, where we will be selling exclusive merchandise for the podcast. At the moment, we got the Extreme Podcast for Extreme People t-shirts, limited to only 30 copies, and the pre-orders will be sent out from the 1st of July. So the link for that is in the description. And in the future, the Big Cartel page will also include some occult accessories and jewelry, which will be handcrafted by myself. And we will also be selling merch and records by other bands as Iblis will expand into a label of its own. And, of course, it goes without saying, thank you for supporting Iblis manifestations. It is much appreciated. Yeah, so we were obviously talking about the obviously the fact that the building just Tower 7 went down on its own, yes. And then there's been other cases of planes flying into buildings. In fact, I'm thinking about it.
That's what I was saying. If you look at the footage of them building that structure back in the 60s or 70s, wherever that was, you could see how reinforced every level of that building was. You could see it clearly. There's so much rebar and solid foundation. There's nothing could have knocked that stuff down. And it was built for a plane to hit it. They even said that. When they built it, they said a 727 Boeing plane could hit it and it won't collapse.
All right. I didn't actually know about that quote. Yeah. I need to look that up. That's interesting.
Yeah. So anyways, all this stuff is just for control. These people want more control over everyone, and it's all a big game for them.
Well, if you think about it, we can sort of look at the more actually like shallow side effects of it as well. But even the more shallow things that came from it are quite big. Like airport security wasn't really a thing before that.
That's true.
But then immediately after, that's something that's implemented worldwide, and pretty much all countries and everywhere, they have to comply with it because of what happened.
Yes. I could say stuff about airport security too, because they never caught anyone yet. They never caught a terrorist. And I've seen documentaries where someone would bring a gun through airport security, get it through, and then say, look, can I talk to you guys? I got the gun through. My name is blah, blah, blah from the whatever department, and I got a gun through security. And
interesting.
It's just security theater. That's what it's called in the end. Security theater.
Security theater.
Yeah. It's just a big play to make you feel safe or make you feel like something's happening, or I don't know. But speaking back to 9/11, a lot of the Conqueror lyrics are about the end of the world, end of society, collapse of society, and we were writing like what we actually believed to be happening to the world. And I remember my phone was ringing that morning, and it kept ringing. So I finally woke up and I said, "What?" And then it was my mother, and she goes, "Turn on your TV." And I turned on the TV, and it was watching this airplane hit the building. I was like, "Yes, I knew it. This is what I knew was going to happen. World War III is going to start now." Everything Conqueror has now been, everything we said has come to light now. So I really thought that was the end. 2001 was going to be World War III and the collapse of everything. But here we are in 2025, still waiting.
Well, I think it's a much more slow and gradual process than I think a lot of people realize it. Like this sort of thing doesn't happen overnight.
Get our building now, we're going to throw some nukes at you, and then another country's going to get involved and throw nukes back. And but luckily, it never really escalated to that point.
No, I don't think so. I'll be honest with you. I don't think that the nuclear thing's even gonna be the way this'll play out. I think it'll be a much slower thing, especially with the developments of AI at the moment. I mean, that's fucking crazy. You look at how that is progressing right now. I think one of the possibilities is that, people stop reproducing, because, to be in a relationship is hard work. Okay. It can be amazing sometimes, but it can also be hard work. And as people are increasingly becoming lazier and lazier, always taking shortcuts, not wanting to do the work.
In this culture. In the Western culture, yeah. But the other cultures are still reproducing, and they have their old traditions that they're still adhering to. So I think it just might be the West that'll disappear. This kind of like that.
Yeah. I don't particularly want that either, because I'm not so much a fan of the not just maybe, cultural, you want to give people the space to have their own culture and do whatever the fuck they want. But then, when it comes to a case of the, totalitarian laws and rules and regimes, like that of China, for example, where it's like depending on how you're walking on the street, you might lose social credit score system.
Yes.
I don't want to fucking live in that kind of world,
It's almost like that's what they're trying to bring here, though, to the West.
Mm-hmm.
They are trying to bring a social credit type situation for us. It does seem like that. I think that the Western governments see how much control the Chinese government has, and they're trying to implement that on this side too.
Well, this is a fact that if you want to compete with them, you got to be like them, which is
which we're failing at because the education system isn't teaching kids in the Western schools like they're teaching in the other parts of the world. Those schools, like 4-year-old kid in China could already program a computer, and a 4-year-old kid in Canada, for instance, knows how to turn on the PlayStation 5, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you get things like TikTok, where what they are showing to kids over there in China is entirely different to what they're showing to kids over here.
Mm-hmm.
I think in China it's like after 10 o'clock at night, it basically like locks itself for kids, so you can't really go on it, and content on there is educational. It's to get you into sports, it's to get you to be active. And then over here, it's like showing people how to fucking set their own hair on fire, or how to identify as like 10 things all at once, which is counterproductive to say the least.
Exactly. So like you said, it is a slow death, and we're watching it in very slow motion. But I did think in 2001 that was the main goal, was to start World War III. But like I said, it just didn't really escalate to the level I thought that it would.
Well, the idea is that World War III already happened, and that was the Cold War. So now we're moving on to World War IV.
World War IV,
Yeah.
Yeah. And anyways, what is the war anyways? It's just more money for the missile company and the bullet company and the tank company. So, and then what happened? We just get wasted.
I have a lot of friends of mine, obviously, especially in the States, who I'm seeing a lot of interesting commentary at the moment, because I think that basically a lot of people are now heavily criticizing the current administration, especially as of the last couple of days with what they came out with, basically saying, oh, Epstein did kill himself. It's like, bro, everyone knows he didn't, so
and there are no clients.
Yeah, right.
That's the new one in the last couple of days. There was no client list.
Yeah, that kind of thing is very fucking strange to me. But a friend of mine, I was talking to him earlier, he's a very intelligent guy, so I trust a lot of his intuition with these things. And he's quite good with money and finances and things like that also. And he made the point of, imagine you've got the people in the biggest companies in the world who are involved in this thing now. So if it goes out, you have to also think about the financial impact that it will have on the entire world, and especially the average person, who a lot of normal people could actually potentially lose jobs purely from the result of that list coming out, So it's a fucking terrible, disgusting thing that happened in the first place, but you also got to look at that aspect as well,
Yes. Yeah. Too bad it is that subject that we have to try to ignore, because if it's other things where you weigh the pros and cons, of course you're going to pick the one that suits everyone the best, but this situation is unacceptable all around.
I don't want to ignore it. I don't want to ignore it. I'm not letting go of this one. No. I'm with you.
But what could you do? We're just two guys watching it happen.
Yeah, sure, but then again, maybe the system is meant to collapse, so that's the other side of it, maybe it is meant to collapse, but how it'll be retrieved and recovered. So this was me saying to him, I know we're going fucking knee deep in this fucking thing here, man, we should go back and just talk about music.
Yes.
But I was saying to him, I was like, well, what if that was the plan all along, is to compromise all the people in the biggest companies, because they're bound to be greedy and bound, if you want to become a billionaire, you're already going to have a certain characteristic and traits that you're going to be more prone to that kind of corruption and deceit and, you know, debauchery.
Absolutely.
You know. And what if the plan was to do that in the first place, so that you could create a financial crash, so
True.
that you could
the long
create
game, 5D chess. Yeah,
yeah,
I could see that too. Of course, like I said, I'm thinking about guitar riffs and what I'm going to do for dinner tonight. That's what I'm thinking about. But these people are just focused on control, 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 and so they could come up with plans that we can't even comprehend. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, it's actually
that's
kind
what
of
they're doing.
impressive.
They're scheming and scheming while the rest of us are just trying to get through our lives.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Maybe we should, I don't know. Maybe I sometimes question to myself, I'm like, is it enough going about my daily life? Or like, should we all think like that? You know?
Yeah, exactly. If you're not thinking like that, someone else is thinking like that. So easy to be taken advantage of.
Absolutely.
It's hard. Like, yeah, I've been through it a million times in my brain. So
yeah, I can tell, man.
I can't think of a solution. Like,
no.
Of course, voting won't get us out of this. It has to be something else. But what that is, I don't know what it is. Like any party you vote for, in the end, it's just playing for the same leader. They're not playing for us. They're playing for a different team altogether.
Yeah, well, I'm not a very firm believer of the left and right in a political party sort of a perspective, you know, because just look at the last 20 years, the meaning of those constantly changes and evolves anyway.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah, it's just a big mess, and we're all stuck in it. But the one thing I'm glad to see is more people are opening their eyes these days. A lot of people are just living through a dreamland and unaware of what's happening around them. But now I think a lot of people are getting their eyes opened, watching how corrupt it actually is. But it might be too late because the corruption is so deep. I don't even... No one could comprehend how deep the corruption is. Like, this whole Epstein thing is corruption to the core.
It for sure is. Yeah, man, absolutely. And I think that, you know, I do agree with you that a lot of people are opening their eyes, you know, and I think that I think we're kind of at that point where there's almost been a glitch in the matrix since COVID, where it's like, you know, you've got two groups of people. You've got people who have seen enough and they've opened their eyes. And then on the other side, you've got people who have seen it all, but are choosing to ignore it and say, la, 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 that's not what's happened. Yes. That's not this, you know, then still trying to desperately grab onto these old narratives that kind of keep the structure going, you know?
Yes. I actually agree with that a lot. I see it even at my workplace. I could tell who has their eyes open and who is still keeping their ears and eyes shut on purpose. I know that they know, but they don't want to accept it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. What is it that you do for work outside of music?
I just take whatever job I could get because I do focus on music. I had a career before in Vancouver. I was running restaurants. And unfortunately, that means 12-hour days, 16-hour days. You never know. And I just couldn't balance it.
A lot of weekends as well, I imagine.
Yeah, weekend, whatever it was. I just couldn't balance it anymore with Blasphemy, and the Death Worship came along. So now I just take odd jobs, whatever it is, until I get bored or fired. I take too many days off, so I'm not allowed to come back anymore. So it's just odd jobs now. Yeah.
Preaching to the choir right there. That's like, that's like all, I think that's kind of like all of us who really want to do this and really care about it, you know?
Yeah. And I don't want to live off this. So not that I could with the amount of shows Blasphemy plays, but if we were like a full touring band, putting out records, doing the whole business thing, I don't want to get to that point. I really don't. So I don't mind having some bullshit job and then paying my rent and bills and then being able to just play festivals here and there and small tours here and there. that's good for me.
That's really cool to hear, because I'm actually a big believer in that, and that perhaps is part of the reason, so if you don't have to depend on your music for survivability, then you can just do whatever the fuck you want.
Exactly.
The quality can be how you want to do it,
Yeah, we have a label that backs us really good. The Nuclear War Now, he doesn't put any limits on us or say, hey, you have to have an album in 6 weeks. We have this cycle that we have to meet. We have distributors are waiting or whatever. I just couldn't get into that. Imagine having to have a deadline to put out an album, write something and record it in a deadline. I can't even picture that.
No, I don't think it's really appropriate in the context of art, and especially if you have very sort of unique personalities in the band, like let's say like Blasphemy, like good luck trying to get everyone into
Yes.
Yeah.
Even a picture with the six of us together is almost an impossibility, but Necro's Horns, Christopher, he pulled it off twice. I can't believe he got us to do pictures before or after the show.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, no, he's if I think anyone was gonna get it, it was probably him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mind blowing, and picture turned out damn good too.
Yeah, he does a great. He actually did our album photo shoot.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. He's a very good friend of mine. Great guy. And he actually flew over from Sweden, and then we fucking broke into this place in I won't say the specific name because we weren't supposed to do the shoot there because they specific. This was in Yorkshire. Okay, Yorkshire. So it's like north of England essentially. And yeah, we went to these ruins, and we had to like find a blind spot away from the camera, and they had to climb fences and shit. But it was great, man. He championed through, and I've always got the mentality of I kind of just do and ask for forgiveness later anyway. So it kind of worked out.
That's exactly what he did in Israel with that Darvaza picture.
Oh yeah, with Bjorn.
On the Via della Rosa. Yeah, he also did that. They put on the. They put on the costume, whatever you want to call it, and took those pictures with police and security not even 20 meters away, and they pulled it off somehow.
And then it's crazy because all the religious people there, obviously that's like maybe like the most religious hotspot in the world.
Exactly.
All of the religious people.
Blasphemous as you could be on their territory. Yeah.
But what I was saying, obviously you call the photo the omen, but like you must look at it from the perspective of those religious people, and you see Bjorn on the street like that, in the holy place, posing like that, and then the next thing you've got fucking missiles and rockets flying over.
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Yes. True. They could have probably thought that was a foreboding specter telling them, here come the missiles. But yeah,
what if it actually was though? What if it actually was?
It actually was. The prophecy came true. Yeah. But when we were there in Jerusalem, we were getting spit at and sworn at and everything walking on the street.
Wow,
I heard people like in English saying, "You guys are the ugliest people I've ever seen in my life." And these people were like spitting on the ground when we were walking past them and shit. It was really crazy.
Was it people of any particular religion who were doing that, or just
yes, the Jewish people, yes.
Yeah.
And like I said, in English, they were even yelling at us and spitting, but then we got to this Muslim section with the market, the bazaar, and the Muslim people were nice to us and helping us out with items that we're looking at, funny T-shirts or whatever. So the Muslims were nice to us, but yeah, the Jewish people were spitting at us and swearing at us and. Very unwelcoming atmosphere. Jerusalem. And then they took that picture, and not even 20 minutes later on the street, the famous Via della Rosa.
Yeah. So
that's yes, they do have the right to spit at us if they knew what we were actually doing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you are the ones that caused the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did feel unwelcome. Tel Aviv was fine, but I did feel unwelcome in Jerusalem. Enemy territory for real.
Yeah. I've never been there, but I would actually really like to go if the opportunity ever presents itself. But I do know a thing or two about enemy territory,
Hmm.
and
I can imagine.
yeah, especially when that enemy territory is marked home, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I know a thing or two about that. I used to do a lot of all kinds of fucking crazy shit, back when I was like a teenager. I'm so lucky I didn't get myself killed, man. But
hmm
I even like the hatred for that religion and then those and the whole thing just grew so deeply. I was actually like risking mine and my friends' lives just to make a point sometimes, like including like burning Qurans in like a central park, when I
hmm
was like 15 years old,
I mean, yeah. Could you imagine like the protesters of today in these safe Western countries? They think they're doing something, but compared to what you did,
Yeah.
there's no statement being made by any protesters here in the West.
Yeah. Yeah, I really don't want to make comparisons, but you are right.
Yeah,
Like
you're actually risking
yeah.
danger. They're not risking anything. They know deep down in their mind, they know nothing's going to happen to them.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
the truth is, I wish I never had to even do that to begin with.
true. Hmm. Yeah, it was 1979, the Islamic Revolution in Iran.
That's right.
I
Yeah,
remember seeing pictures of pre-Islamic Revolution days and people on the beach enjoying, looking pretty westernized, actually.
yeah.
So I don't know, was Iran a threat, the Iranian economy a threat to the US in any way back then in
Yeah,
the
it could have been.
70s?
I think it
Because
could have been.
that's another thing that the US does too is shut down countries that might screw up the US dollar.
Well, it actually started up with Mossadegh, who was the prime minister, and this was about 20 years prior to that happening. So I think this was in early 50s, I think, 52, 53 maybe. He was a prime minister at the time, fairly liberal guy, especially by the standards of back then. And what was happening is that it was actually the British where it started out with,
Sorry. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. And basically the British were rinsing the Iranians of their oil at the time. They had quite unfair deals, and then what Mossadegh did, he nationalized the oil and basically cut off the access of the British, saying like, you guys are basically taking the piss here. And then what happened was that the I think MI5 and CIA basically did their own little joint thing to basically do a coup d'état and get rid of this guy. So they would send people to streets causing violence on his behalf, even though that's not what he was doing. And in the end, the guy actually died in house arrest.
Hmm.
And then the Mohammad Reza Shah, the king, came into power. And well, he was actually already in power, sort of by that point. But then then all of the control was with him, and then the West kind of like he was working with them. But then as soon as he starts getting a bit more stronger, starts saying more brave stuff on TV. I don't know if you've seen some of his interviews. Then Khomeini comes, and then basically Khomeini wasn't a puppet of the West, but they definitely helped him get there. He wouldn't have been
Hmm.
able to do that without them. So
Yeah, unbelievable. It's
yeah,
funny to look back at it now. Like, not funny, but interesting to look back at it with knowing what the situation was. Because at the time, you just believe what the news tells you. The, Iran is a threat. We got to get rid of this threat. And then you're like, okay, let's get rid of this threat. That's a good idea. But you don't really know what their actual motive is. But now we could look back on a couple of points in history and know what the motive was.
hmm absolutely. Well, it's certainly like prior to the Islamic Republic, there was really no wars in the Middle East. That's the
Hmm.
that's the crazy thing. Like yes, with Israel, you had them getting attacked by the Arabs pretty much right after the formation of the country, but or the state. But other than that, and that was already like quite a while before. For quite a long time, the Middle East was peaceful. In fact, both Iran and Israel were quite close allies at the time, you know, and there was no tension there. Why? Because Iran had all the power. Okay, no one wanted to step out of line, and then basically with the Islamic Republic came this vacuum effect, and also this extreme Shiite ideology that followed through as well. And then those guys were trying to then spread it when the Iran-Iraq war happened, you know.
Yeah, I actually worked with someone that was in the Iran-Iraq war, an Iraqi guy, and he was a refugee in Canada, and he told me how brutal that war was, and he caught an Iranian guy. Maybe you won't like hearing this story, but he caught an Iranian soldier, and it was just him and this Iranian soldier alone, and he had a rocket launcher. That was the only weapon he had, the Iraqi guy. This is the story he told me. And he goes, look, I don't want to have to hurt you. Just don't run away. I'm going to take you to the jail or whatever, the camp, and they'll process you. But please don't run. And the guy ran, so he had no choice but to rocket launcher the guy from a close distance.
Wow.
And, yeah, so it sounded like a pretty brutal war. This guy was kind of a weirdo. Like, we'd go into the elevator after work and go down to the change room, and he would be like Spider-Man at the top of the elevator, and then when we were going down, all of a sudden he just dropped on top of us and scared the shit out of everyone in the elevator. He always did weird things like that. I don't know, he was affected by the war. So these were like old stories like that he would tell me about that war, that he would have to kill. He was actually someone that took another person's life. So I found that interesting. I kept asking him questions because he knew what it felt like to be a murderer or whatever. So yeah, I did find him an interesting person.
That's an interesting thing that you say, that he knew what it was like to be a murderer. But I also have a theory. I think that we all have that in us, because
definitely,
you know, your DNA's been, think of how far the DNA's been passed down, and you know, how far you've come from thousands,
I wish people would think about that.
Yeah.
Like how tough it was to get to 2025. What your ancestors went through to get to this point is incredible. Yeah, I wish people would think like that, but no one really does. It's like, oh, I'm here. Where's Pizza Hut? You know.
Yeah, you know, or like, oh, I got you spelled my name wrong on my fucking Starbucks pumpkin spice latte cup.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
You ruined my day. Yeah.
Yeah, no one really thinks things through. I don't know. It's a strange to observe. It's just things I observe when walking around, you know, and seeing people living in this bubble.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's definitely a thing that's definitely worth considering, you know, because you have to think that, you know, for anyone to be sat here right now, you know, this is for you and I, for anyone listening to this right now, your DNA has been passed on through millions of years, thousands of years, and within that, much of it is struggle and having to fight and having to survive. And the likelihood of you and your ancestors, maybe not you personally, but your ancestors, grandparents, or long before that, having to commit murder and having to kill other people is extremely high. In fact, I think that murder must be in the DNA of 90% of the people in the world, if not everyone, because they kind of intermingle anyway. And I think that's something that's worth considering, you know, and it's not to say go around and do it again, but it's to say, know that shadow side exists in you. It's not that far away, you know, so try to be better in spite of it, if you will. But just understand that you're lucky to be here, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, like they say, peace is an anomaly, and war is the usual state of things, is a war. Battle is the normal state of everything. And then, this peace that we've had for the whatever years that North America developed, we had a lot of peacetime. And that's a very lucky compared to any one of our ancestors.
That's one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of watching wild videos of nature, of like animals just fucking tearing each other to shreds, because I see that and I recognize that that's the default state of the Matrix that we live in.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, me too. I have it on the Twitter X account, whatever, animal predator action all the time. Snakes and right to lions and everything. I love watching that stuff.
Yeah. It's good. Like, you know, like you watch, you know, like for example, when a gazelle just gets fucking ripped to shreds, and it's a slow death for them as well. You know, like there's a page on Instagram. I'm sure people have seen it. Nature is Metal, and you know, you see brutal stuff. Yeah, like the thing is just sat there being eaten alive. It knows it's its last moment. It's trying to run away, but the legs stop working because it's already ripped to pieces.
Yes.
But it has to sit there and wait until they eat it alive with their teeth straight into its flesh. You know? That's
I don't think a lot of people can stomach that, eh?
No.
But
no,
it is
people,
reality, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that this is why I like to incorporate difficulty into my own daily life, you know, even if it's something as mundane as going to the gym, because at least you're honoring the default state of the Matrix to some point. Because I think there's kind of an energetic exchange that happens with the world,
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to. But, you know, I guess everyone has had like real struggle in their life in some level. What you consider personally a struggle. Like I went through a lot. Everyone that I know went through a lot. So to get where we are today.
Yeah, no, I do absolutely believe in that. You know, I think it's more, my focus is more on purposely going through physical difficulty in particular.
Yeah.
You know,
suffer now or suffer later. Also,
exactly.
About the gym. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I think there's some kind of a karmic exchange that happens with the world around you, you know, if you want to call it God or nature or whatever. But I think it's like it's a back and forth. It's an exchange, you know. It's like a trade almost, you know, because what's the most valuable thing? What's the most painful thing, rather, than a person can experience? Well, it's childbirth. What's the thing that comes out of it? It's literally life, you know. So you can look at it in that sort of trade kind of a mindset, and then approach everything else with that, knowing that that sort of template exists in the Matrix, you know?
True. For some reason, I just thought of this joke about childbirth.
Oh, yeah?
You know that one? About getting kicked in the balls or childbirth, which one's more painful? And then no one ever says that got kicked in the balls, say, I want to get kicked in the balls again. But women always say, yeah, I'll have another child. I'll have 2 or 3 children. So which one's more painful?
Yeah.
No one ever says, kick me in the balls, please. But women say, let's have a child.
Well, tell
let's
you
have
what.
A second child.
I'll add a philosophical edge to that joke, shall I? So if you kick someone in the balls, you might potentially stop them from reproducing.
True.
Okay.
Absolutely. That could be could be a really good thing.
yeah, there we go, man. That's it. But yeah, man, what a fucking great chat. Holy shit. We really went deep in this one, man. Fucking hell.
Cool. Should we talk about music?
We can. Let's talk a little bit more about music before we wrap this up, you know, because we didn't even really get the chance to go there as much. I had a suspicion this would happen, but you know, that's just what we do on here. So tell me a little bit more, man. What are the upcoming plans for Death Worship?
So, Death Worship, I think the next show is Canada, actually. I had a list of countries that I wanted to hit with Death Worship, and Canada still hasn't been hit. And finally, we have a show scheduled in Vancouver in the end of September at the Covenant Festival. And so
yes.
I've hit, like I said, I wanted to bring Death Worship to Brazil. We did it. I wanted to bring Death Worship to Chile. We did it, you know. So I had a list, and so far the only countries that evaded me are Finland. I wanted to bring Death Worship to Finland, but still haven't done that. But we might have something scheduled next year. And then Canada. So happy to actually play this show. And it's kind of like a hometown show for us, because I lived in Vancouver for about 20 years.
Yeah. That'll be a big deal, man. I guess how long is it that you've been in Germany for now?
Since the pandemic, I kind of got stuck, so I had to make a choice when the pandemic started, and I chose Germany. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember us talking about that because Canada was obviously going in a bit of a shitty direction then as well
Yes.
by that point.
Yes. So yeah, Canada was already back then. So we're talking 2019, 2020. Yeah, 2020. I stayed in Germany, and the economy was already pretty rough there, and rent rates were so high, and food was expensive already. So I can't even imagine what they're going through now, 6 years later, and after a pandemic or a plandemic.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I thought it was a real shame to see what happened there, man. With that fucking, you got Fidel Castro's son running the country.
Yes.
It's never going to turn out well.
No, absolutely. But yeah, so that's the next for Death Worship, I think, for the rest of the year even. Oh no, and we have Prague Death Mass on Halloween night.
Oh yeah, that's with Blasphemy as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great festival. Yeah. I've never attended, but I've heard very good things about there from friends of mine who played. I'm
also in the band Thoribos on bass, and we played Prague Death Mass with Diocletian. I guess it was last year or 2 years ago.
It was last year because it was a part of Diocletian's run that we ended up doing some shows with them.
Okay, it was last year. I can't even grasp time anymore.
Yeah.
It all blurs together. So, okay, last year. And so, yeah, we played it last year then, and yeah, it was well-run, great festival.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Actually, tell you what, I have to correct that. I'm wrong. It wasn't last year. It was the year before that.
Okay.
I think Diocletian did Prague Death Mass. Don't ask me how I know all of their tour dates, but I think they did that before they ended up doing the run later on. I think that was
that big tour was off. We also played with Diocletian in Thailand.
That's right.
And so, yeah, so that's where it came. They started the tour in Thailand, and it came to Europe, and they were here forever, like a 3-month tour or something. And I remember they went to England with you guys.
That's right. Yeah,
that was last year.
Yeah, that was April last year. We played together. Okay. Yeah, one of the best shows on that fucking tour. We played this tiny-ass venue in Bristol called the Griffin. Okay. And it was like, that one sold out within like days of the tour getting announced, which obviously we had a great response there, but it's a very small venue, like you can ask the guys, you can ask Brendan, it's like literally the corner of someone's fucking living room. Okay. But that to this day is still my favorite show of the tour, because beforehand we went and grabbed some Persian food, but then during the show, when Diocletian were playing, we had just got off stage, or walked from it, and when these guys were on, I fucking got in the it's this tiny room, completely crammed, and I decided to go in there and start a fucking pit in the middle of their set.
No way.
Yeah, and it got fucking violent, man. It was beautiful. And then people could see who it was because they had just seen us perform. So they were like seeing me, recognizing me midway as I was like dragging them across the fucking room, and then the guy started walking in the crowd whilst playing. It was fucking brilliant. Loved it.
It's killer. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
You can't buy that kind of shit with money.
Yeah, true. And that whole Diocletian thing, that was like underground spirit. Like that was all... No big booking agency helped them or anything. They just did it. It was like a team effort from everyone, from all aspects, to make these shows happen. Mm-hmm. I really like watching that too.
Absolutely, especially for a band like them as well. I know Alessio was obviously highly involved, and he did a lot of the bookings as well. But that DIY
but he's an underground
spirit.
guy. He's not like a real business. I can't explain it. He is a business, but he somehow has the underground touch to him.
He's like a renegade,
Yeah, absolutely. Outlaw. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So just quickly coming back into Death Worship as well, would you ever consider doing like a full-length album as such with the band?
That's actually the plan for the next release. I've been working on it, and it's a lot of work. But I want to do a full-length, because I know these EPs. The EP thing is easy to explain. Is that James and I live in different cities. And so to
Right.
prepare
Okay.
a whole LP from two different cities and not be able to rehearse together and whatnot. Uh, it was kind of difficult, but now with the way the internet works, it's so easy with all these clouds and stuff. Just upload ideas onto the cloud, and he listens to them, and he sends back more ideas. It's a lot more convenient now than it was even 6, 7 years ago when I first started the death worship stuff.
Well, I think there is some kind of a value to the EPs anyway. Like as a collector, I love getting those kind of releases. Even if you put it on the turntable, sometimes like when it finishes and then let's say if it's like 20 minutes, then you're kind of like, cool, I want to play it again now.
Yeah, true.
Kind of
Yeah,
has that element.
as a listener, I also like that. I like craving for more.
Yeah,
So that's another good
absolutely.
thing about the EP. It makes you want more. But yeah, a full length is the goal, but let's see how it happens. It depends on budget and everything.
I'm very excited to hear that, man. I would absolutely love to actually hear like a full album from you guys. And yeah, do you think? I mean, perhaps it's probably too early to tell now. Are you thinking of doing like a one-off full-length album, or do you think you might potentially do some more later as well?
Yeah,
Or
I'm thinking of one off right now. That's the way
okay,
I'm looking at it. I don't know. Every one of my favorite bands, like speak about other things, as the albums progress, they get worse and worse. So I don't want to be one of those guys putting out crap,
mm,
uninspired, and sounding like stuff I already did before. I kind of want to keep pushing forward as much as I can, and so right now I could only see one album,
okay.
and then that's it. Plus my age, getting up there in age, so
Mm. Yeah, that's the thing as well. Like obviously, I think it's kind of like as you perfectly put earlier. It's having quality over quantity more than anything, and especially at this point, you've been a musician for decades, and the quality of the stuff that you've got out there is fairly solid. Especially in the style of work that it is. So I can see you kind of don't want to sort of tarnish that in a way or
exactly.
like
Yeah.
taint it.
Yeah, that's one thing I could say. Like, I recorded a demo in 1994, and I can still listen to it today and enjoy it. And a lot of people, when they go back to their 1994 stuff, they're cringing. They're like, "Oh, I can't believe I was just a dumb kid doing that." But I can still listen to 1994 demo and 1996 Conqueror stuff. I can still listen to that and say, "All right, this is
Yeah.
something I'm happy we fucking accomplish." But yeah, I know a lot of musicians that are embarrassed almost of their old stuff. So at least I could say, since I took my time doing it, that it's paying off looking back at it today.
Interesting. Are you referring to some of the Dominum Inferum stuff as
Yeah,
well? So I think
exactly.
that
Exactly.
was
That
like
was
your very
back in
first demo, wasn't
1994.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess I could have slapped something out a couple of years earlier, but I kept creating songs, not liking it, dropping it, start from scratch again, start from scratch again, start from scratch again. And then finally a sound came to my head and I was able to translate it onto the fretboard. And yeah, that was the demo tape we put out in 1994. And I'm glad we
Absolutely.
waited. I'm glad we waited.
Yeah.
And I felt like a latecomer in 1994 too, because all my friends' bands were already gaining traction and stuff. And here I was still sitting in the background.
What were some of the bands that you were surrounded with at that time?
Cremation, which is
Okay.
James's band, and then we had a few others, but nothing worth mentioning because they're long gone and didn't really do much. But they were pretty good. Like, we had this band called The Malignant Growth, and they played like death metal in the style of Death, Leprosy.
Okay.
And they were putting out demo tape after demo tape around, and I watched Procreation from Vancouver. They used to come to Edmonton and play shows. And I watched them put out tapes and stuff. And yeah, I just couldn't write a song that I was proud or happy with, satisfied with until 1994, when I finally could write a song that I liked enough to keep.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Well, you've got some great stuff out there. Even, I think War Cult Supremacy being your first full-length album, I think well, like holy fucking shit. Like, you know,
Yeah,
like you can't fuck with that. That was your first full-length album, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was the one. And then I did some stuff also. Like there was a big dead time between 1996 and Death Worship was 2013.
Mm.
So I used to
Yeah.
write songs for other bands too. Like I got about 3 or 4 Black Witchery songs that I wrote. So
Oh,
if you look
killer.
at like Desecration of a Holy Kingdom, and that's like known now as like a classic black metal album.
It
But
is,
yeah,
yeah.
I wrote one of those songs, and
Mm.
a couple of Upheaval. The second album, Upheaval, I wrote 2 songs on that one. So I was still keeping busy, even though I was not doing my own stuff between 96 and 2013, plus playing these Blasphemy shows.
Mm. That's killer, man. Yeah. What
Yeah.
a killer band as well, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
I hope they could make a return. If any band should make a return, it's them.
yeah, right. Yeah, I'd be there for that. I never got to see them live, but I love watching the footage, you know, and it's like
Yeah.
all
Super
that,
vicious.
yeah. And then all that they ask of in between songs is, can we have more snare?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
no, killer. No, those guys are awesome. Long time no see. But yeah, we used to have really good contact. And like I said, we got to the point where I was even writing songs for them.
Mm-mm. Yeah, that's very cool. I'll have to check that stuff out again now, knowing that you wrote them. I had a feeling like you had done some kind of a collaboration with them, but I didn't know specifically over
Yeah.
what
Well,
or
we
which
have
songs.
the Conqueror Black Witchery split album,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
it. That's the one.
yeah, which is the start of both Conqueror and Black Witchery, basically that put our name on the map. But then yeah, I didn't have a band, but I had riffs and started to collaborate with those guys to get them going too. Like I
Now
said,
here,
I refused to do my own band because I couldn't find a drummer on the level that I wanted a drummer to be. And so I had to help other bands. Like even Diocletian, I wrote a couple songs for those guys too.
yeah, that's right. That's right, man. Here's a question for you, okay? And I know this is a crazy one. I don't even know if I'm allowed to ask this. Do you think there will be a day where we'll actually get a new Blasphemy album?
See, I'm the wrong guy to ask. If it was up to me, of course, I would have wrote it 25 years ago already. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't want to interfere with. I don't want to put my print on it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Because then I'll
Sure, I
think
respect that.
yeah, I'm also a Blasphemy fan, so I don't want to be the writer of the album. So I'm trying to wait for Black Winds and Calder Storms, and they always seem to get motivated, and then something happens, and then they lose the motivation. And I don't know. So as far as I can see, it won't happen. And I'm almost getting to the point now where I don't think it should happen. Because
Well, that's the other thing.
even
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
create the best black metal album of all time, it'll still get criticized because it's under the Blasphemy name.
Yeah, well,
It's such a big legend to live up to.
yeah, well, it for sure is. Yeah, I think so. But I would also go as far as saying that, now I don't know if this is just me, but obviously I've watched all of the old footage of the band, especially from that infamous Immortal and Rotting Christ tour and everything, you know. And that's pretty close to around the time the albums came out. It's actually like just after both albums were out.
Right.
And
Yeah.
what the band does live now compared to that, it's like, holy fuck, it's on a completely different level. So purely from
Yeah, I
just
agree
even the
with that.
live band perspective, you're on a completely different level now.
Yeah. I agree
So-
with that because I also watch that old footage too. And, you know, a couple members were missing from that tour. And so
That's
the
also true. Yeah.
two stand-in guys. But yeah, I don't know. It's a touchy subject for Blasphemy. Like,
Yeah.
one part of me says, yeah, let's do it. Let's get it done. Even I'll get involved just to get it done. And the other part of me says, maybe we shouldn't touch the legacy at all. So hard to say. But then we also have these other bands like Blasphemy, Go to Christ. I don't know if you heard.
I was just about to mention, I thought
Yeah.
he did 2 albums with them, right?
2 albums. So
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
kind of
Great
continuing
stuff.
in one way.
Yeah.
And then you could say Death Worship is a continuation in a way. So that's one way not to tarnish the band's name is to do side things. But yeah, I don't know what this. I think about it here and there, and I don't know if we should do it or not.
But it would fucking blow up if you did it.
Yeah, it's guaranteed money.
Yeah.
Guaranteed sales. Yeah, but that's not the motivation.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
I respect that as well.
We could almost get AI to write the damn album for us, and then just play it and make money, you know. But obviously, that's not the motivation. I'd almost, in my opinion, if it was a new Blasphemy record, I want it to sound like the way I felt when I first heard Fallen Angel of Doom. That absolute power and something like you never heard before. I wanted that kind of thing to repeat. I'd wanted the listener to put it on and be like, what the fuck? Even with all the knowledge of all the bands that's been released in the last 30 years, something that came out and still punches you in the head as hard as physically possible.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the tricks for that would be to maybe actually record it analog entirely.
True. That would be one of the things. Yeah. Get the old studio where Fallen Angel of Doom was recorded to set up the real machine again.
Yeah.
The reel to reel.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm actually one of those people. I mean, I absolutely adore Fallen Angel of Doom, but I'm actually kind of like, you know, Blood Upon the Altar for me.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, fuck, you know, like the magic. Sound is almost like more suited to some of those songs as well, you know? Yeah. That's just my personal opinion.
I think that, like, it's recorded at the same studio. Both Blood Upon the Altar and Fallen Angel of Doom are recorded at the same studio.
Right.
But I think the guy experimented a bit on Fallen Angel of Doom, and yeah, it is a bit muddy compared to Blood Upon the Altar.
Yeah, it's just the sharpness and the aggression that I feel like is like captured a lot better.
Yeah.
But I think it's a little bit like that with Morbid Angel as well. You know,
True.
Some of the songs from Altars of Madness sound way better on the previous release, you know.
True.
Which
Agreed.
is
Thy Kingdom Come is
that's it.
Where it's at. Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Yeah. So I don't know. Plus, I am a demo enthusiast too. I always say the demo is better. The demo is better. It's quite rare where I say the album is better.
Yeah.
Can't think of many bands where I like the album better than the demo.
Interesting.
But then again, like, that's the first thing I heard from the band, so maybe it's also nostalgic.
There's definitely a sense of nostalgia to it. I mean, I actually, like, for us, I only just released this last year, but I put together this Trivax tape, which is, you know, I called it true, well, it's called Burning Fields of Hatred, but then it's branded as true Persian black metal. And then it's on the front, it's just got a picture of me with corpse paint back in Iran from like 2010, you know, which is, you know, and then all of the songs are super fucking raw. They're recorded like fucking dog shit, but then it's all of the stuff that we recorded back then that we actually never released whilst I was there. So this is just kind of like, it's a demo that never came out at the time, but now you'll get to hear all of it, kind of thing, you know.
Awesome.
It's on this blue tape.
That's what I like. Yeah. I actually search that kind of stuff out, so
yeah, sure, man. Well, tell you what, I'll send you one of the tapes.
Cool.
You can awesome, man. Well, tell you what, Ryan, I think we fulfilled the music part of the conversation there easily.
Right. Okay, good.
So, yeah, man, you're a total gentleman to speak to. Great guy to meet as well, you know. Very much respect and enjoy the musical output that you've got, you know, and, you know, very happy that we got the chance to have this conversation, man.
Yeah, I'm very happy. Yeah, I don't do this much, so.
I know you don't. That's why I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I was going to say more, but we better.
It's amazing stuff. Well, just to kind of wrap it up, man, you know, if there's any kind of, I suppose, any kind of plug, anything you want people to keep an eye out for that you've got coming up?
I should plug, I have a website that I'm building. It's online now, and I'm selling official t-shirts by Blasphemy, Death Worship, Conqueror, Thoribos, Diocletian, and it's the Ross Bay Cult Eternal page, rossbayculteternal.bigcartel.com.
Yeah,
And,
that'll be in the description. People can just scroll down
okay.
and click on it straight away.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. And so there'll be more added, but because of, I have a lot of physical items to get rid of here, but because of import costs and postage prices, I'm only going to sell in the European mainland. So.
Oh, okay, yeah, because of tariffs
Other
and stuff
listeners,
now as well.
Yeah, but I have T-shirts that are printed on demand on the website, and that ships anywhere in the world.
Amazing.
So.
Amazing. Yeah, I might have to pay that a visit myself. There we go.
All right. Let me know.
Amazing
if you need
stuff,
anything.
brother. Yeah.
All right.
There we go.
Great talk.
Cool. And to everyone else listening to the podcast, hope you all enjoyed this one and enjoyed nerding out along with me over Blasphemy and Ross Bay Cult. So, yeah, check out everything Ryan's got going on. Support Ross Bay Cult, and we'll see you on the next episode of Iblis Manifestations.